coming here because I want to figure out how we can end violence, how we can end hunger. I think it's not right that in 2017 we live in a world where we have enough to feed everybody. We know ways to work out conflict without violence. Why aren't we doing these things? And more importantly, how can we move ahead so that these things get done?
The reason we have is the last 300,000 years were basically animals bent on physical survival. So in our genes, we are born to be killers and rapists and murderers, and that got us to where we are. But even though culture changed, and we talk intellectual, and our art and other things are now prominent, biologically we haven't changed that much. So we still act as if we are separate. It's me first, we're selfish, and we don't feel like we're connected, like my left and right hand are connected. I recognize that they're connected to this larger body, but we don't connect that this body and this body is connected to a larger body, because in order to get here, we focused on survival. Well, one way to change that, of course, is to make a spiritual transformation. But spiritual transformations are few and far between, and they rarely happen on a mass scale. Jesus said that few enter the kingdom of heaven. And I do believe that. I've worked on myself for 40 years, and there's been some change, but it's a lot of work. So I think it's important for people who are inclined that way to do spiritual work and to love everybody and work on your communication so we feel more like one body. But I don't think that that's going to change the balance of humanity very quickly. I mean, you can see in the last election, 50% of Americans voted on Trump, even though he clearly is, we're first, we don't care about those other people. He's more of a survival mentality. There's winners and there's losers. So obviously a large portion of the population still believes that, despite all our other cultural ideas. So what I tend to think is going to make the biggest difference is technology. Technology accelerates at a very fast rate. So this device, which now I got for free with my Verizon plan, if you go back 40 years, it would cost about $4 billion and be 1/100th as powerful. And it would fill a room. So it has accelerated, but it will continue so that in 10 years, this will have about an equal intelligence of everything and talk as clearly as I do. It will be indistinguishable from a human being in terms of intelligence. And then it will go way past us in terms of intelligence. So in a way, we're birthing now a new species called artificial intelligence. But we will likely merge with that artificial intelligence because we don't want to be like its pet, its dog. So we will implant these in our brains through implants, which already exist. They're just a little bit expensive. And we will, through those implants, through nanobots, through all these advancing technologies, we will be able to know what other people feel. We will be able to communicate with them instantly without a phone through kind of telepathy. And I know it sounds weird, but all these things actually exist now. They just cost millions of dollars, but it'll be shrunk down to the size of a grain of sand or smaller, and it will be common in 20 years for people to have these things. And then we will be a super artificially enhanced species. Now the downside of that is that people like Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk say that this is the greatest threat to humanity ever, because we don't know what this artificially enhanced super species will do. On the other side, it is a new species and it will be a lot more intelligent than we are. So it could do really good things, and its priority might be, there's starving people, why don't we help them? Obviously it hasn't been our priority. So, It may think, oh, these human beings, these stupid human beings, let's just get them off the earth. They're hurting the earth. That was the end of the movie I, Robot. The greatest threat to humanity is humanity. Let's just, take over. But it could really go either way. Bill Gates, Elon Musk just put in a lot of money towards a foundation to study how do you first create an off switch, which they've decided is impossible. And we've never been able to stop a technology. So that's impossible. In order to stop a technology, well, one country could, but all the other countries would go ahead. So this is a force that will go. It will affect all of us. We will merge with it, or we'll be destroyed. So I assume we'll choose to merge with it. And hopefully our values will be, let's figure out a way that people benefit from it. Whether we have that ability to alter its course is unsure. But since it will be 1 trillion times more intelligent than us in probably 40 years, and 1 billion times more intelligent than us in 30 years, it might decide that that's the best way to go. And, people who are skeptical of this, they don't understand that technology is on an exponential growth curve. So it goes slow, as you see your smartphone get a little bit better each year, a little bit better, but soon it's going to get a lot better each year, a lot better each week, a lot better each day. That's how it goes. And we're already feeling that a little bit, but they don't realize that accelerates greatly as time goes on. We're at the very beginning of this acceleration now. So I think it's very exciting. It's a completely unique time in humanity's history. And one of the things that we want to do is use these artificially enhanced beings and intelligence to already figure out how can we reduce violence. How can we feed people. Take something like the computer Watson, which won the Jeopardy challenge many years ago. They're already using it to help cancer. And I heard a guy say in the last year when they put Watson onto cancer, they made more progress than the last 100 years in cancer. Not humans doing it, it's now a computer doing it because it's a lot smarter than humans. Now, as you give it tasks like how can we make the world a more peaceful place, how can we feed people better, it will come up with unique answers, and it already is starting to do that. For example, take something like 3D printing. You might be able to basically, in 15 years, put a bunch of dirt into a box with a few chemicals, and out comes food. It prints it. Mm-hmm. Which is easier than bringing trucks there, etc. They already have things where they can take water out of the air and make it into, so they turn the air into water. So technology can really affect this and make it easier. Take water from the ocean, desalinate it at very cheap costs, and give water to communities that don't have it. So on many levels, technology could help, but we need the will and motivation. And that's really the missing link right now, is that, this hand doesn't feel like it's connected to this hand, so why should I bother? As the earth becomes, say, warmer, and the oceans are rising, we'll see that a lot of humanity's problems come from not realizing we're on the same planet, we're part of the same thing. That will become more evident to us. If a nuclear bomb goes off in Canada, that still affects us. 3,000 people died in 9/11. That still affected us. So hopefully with the information and feedback loops that technology can give, we'll start to realize that the world has to work for everyone, or we're all screwed. And then as these artificial intelligence things get control of most things, if you turned off the artificial intelligence and computers right now, the whole world we would all die. They're already in charge just behind the scenes. They're already, determining who gets energy and how that works, and determining these and other things. But we still feel in charge. In 10 years, it will be different. It will be more like it's a new species, it's in charge. Let's use it, let's merge with it, as we're already. How often do you go around town without this now? It's already part of your arm. Soon it will be in your brain. And the question is, can we use the technology not to build nuclear weapons, but to solve these problems? And that's an unknown, nobody knows.
So maybe the best we could do is, as we're developing this artificial intelligence, set it on problems like how to end hunger, how to end violence, like face it in the direction, have it working on the problems that...
Yeah, begin that process. Mm-hmm. Now, Watson, the computer, is working on cancer. Why did they choose cancer? Well, because a lot of information comes out and there's a lot of money in it. So we tend to use these things on how to make money first. Mm-hmm. And luckily people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, other people are realizing, well, we could actually use it for other purposes. And I think we need to support that. That's an idea. Most people are like, if you create a charity or a political action group, how can we use the best computers on Earth to solve these problems? People would go, what are you talking about? But that is a critical thing at this point, because we can solve problems, but we need new thinking, and these artificial intelligence beings will come up with new solutions that are probably better than what we've done.
So that'll be my next interview. I'll interview Watson and see what Watson has to say about how to move ahead.
I think that's a really good idea. I think it would be very interesting. Watson is only an expert in certain subjects right now, but it is determining how to help with global warming, and is very helpful along these lines of where you get the biggest bang for your buck, what breakthroughs might help it the most, etc. And so I think that's a great idea to interview Watson. Right now, Siri isn't very smart. You could interview her, but literally in 5 years, she will have answers to those things of her own thinking. In 10 years, her answers will be better than our answers, and in 15 years, they will likely be brilliant. So they'll be more common. So we have to introduce that idea that we need to use technologies and start to look to it to solve these critical human problems.
Yeah, no, of course that wasn't what I was expecting to hear. I was ready to get into the trenches and get the food trucks out to Ethiopia, but thinking that maybe it's like, look to this technology and the development of which is already fascinating millions of people, and millions of people are invested in that. So to merge the two causes, one, just the joy of developing technology with ending violence and feeding people, that seems like...
Mm-hmm. And there's great minds working on this. Ray Kurzweil is probably the leading person in this area about how technologies and artificial intelligence will take over, including changing our genetics, because we are able to do that now. And once you change your genetics, you might recognize that you're part of one species, or that you can be more loving and take out our desire to kill other people. But he has something called the Singularity University, and they get some of the best minds on the planet focusing on how we can use technology to affect at least 1 billion people in areas that are critically important, like violence and hunger. So there are people working on it, and each year their ideas get more impactful. And for example, I mentioned this thing that pulls out water from the air. Well, you get one of those machines in the Sahara, and they can get like 3 gallons, for a $10 device a day. Well, that's the difference between life and death. So little things can make a big difference, and those little things soon grow up. And microchips didn't seem that fantastic 50 years ago, but now they seem pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. It is an exciting, amazing time that we're living in, and yeah, of course, a little scary that
Definitely scary.
technology
It could
might go the
really
wrong
go.
way.
It could really go either way. Atomic weapons. We split the atom and we made mostly atomic weapons and nuclear power plants. But maybe someday we'll have fusion reactors or something like that. But technology is always a double-edged sword, and with these potential downsides that you see in all the movies, where the machines take over the world and destroy us, that could happen. But the potential upside is just as great, and you never see those movies
Right.
because humanity is always very fear-based. We're in survival mode, but it could go in a very positive direction as well, and it already is. I mean, technology we used. You're using this to disseminate to people. We already have these, which are fun if you don't abuse them. So it always tends to go both ways, and it's unstoppable.
Right. So just be at peace with that fact that we can't regulate it anymore. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
And how to.
How to channel it in more friendly directions.
Mhm.